Hey guys, Penny here from Monaco Nail Academy, and over the next few minutes I'm going to take you through the first half of a really fun set of nails, putting on a full set of soft gel extensions, shaping them up, and then doing a pigment ombre kind of base ready for some nail art in part 2. First things first, I would really super appreciate if while I am prepping these nails, you could pop down below and just pop a comment down. Tell me your favorite thing to see in a YouTube nail video. Doesn't have to be in one of ours, could be from someone else's. I have given myself until the end of the year to make a significant impact to the marketing of Monaco Nail Academy with our YouTube channel. So comments really help out getting it visible. And I know I never comment on anybody else's videos, so if you aren't sure what you love about other people's videos, pop down and just tell me where you are, because any comment is going to make a really big difference, and I'm not afraid of begging for them. So I'm prepping these nails for a set of soft gel extensions. When I'm doing nail art like this, I am really enjoying using soft gel extensions at the moment. I was a die-hard acrylic girl, and I have definitely changed my tune. I still love acrylic, but it's just that these aren't, you don't have downsides to these. They're just as strong. They're lasting just as long. You can backfill them. I backfill them with Builder in a bottle and grow them out when people want to keep them on. So acrylic's really fun, but these are so fast, and if I know I'm doing a full set of nail art on top, this is what I'm generally going for, is putting on a set of soft gel extensions, getting that strength, length, adhesion, all the benefits of acrylic, but just faster. And it helps me reduce my prices because I charge based on time. So my prices aren't so scary for people that are wanting a full set of nail art if they're getting it done on top of soft gel extensions. So in terms of prepping for these, I just took the corners off the nails. This is Trudy. She's a freaking delight. She likes cats. That's a spoiler for where this set is going. Not that the thumbnail wasn't in the first place, but I just took the corners off Trudy's nails just to make sure that they didn't stick out the sides of these tips once I had them on, but they didn't need very much shaping beyond that. And I'm just going to show you the first few nails to do this. You don't need to watch me do all 10. And I know that I showed you doing a full set of soft gel extensions in the last video as well. I promise I won't do that all the time, but this was a really fun set of extensions to put on because Trudy's nails are so nice, so that's why I'm including it. I've left it a little bit more step by step than last week's video. In today's version of Where's Penny Recording This Audio, I'm sitting on my own bed this time, not Ella's, but I am home alone and alone in general for the first time in, oh my gosh, I don't know how long. My stepkids, Ella and Luke, have been with us for the last 11 days, and we love, like genuinely, I love all of the time that we get with them. But because it's not in a normal day-to-day routine, it's the school holidays, then there's no schedule for having time to myself kind of thing. So Carl has just started the drive to take them back to their mum's house. So that means I have a window of about 4.5 hours by myself. And instead of, reading a book, taking a bath. I don't have a bath. I hate baths. But, instead of doing that, this is what we're doing. I'm hanging out with you, recording this voiceover. I do have a cup of tea, and I hope at the very least you also have a cup of tea, if not a glass of wine or whatever you love, so that we can just sit and hang out and do these nails together. This set was so freaking fun because I said this to Trudy at the time. When we do this movement, taking the hand together up under the flash curing lamp, everybody moves at a different pace, and Trudy was moving exactly in sync with me, which meant that we had no flooding of the gel adhesive. It was like every single nail was perfect, and the gel adhesive was in the exact right place. I had no cleanup to do. What a freaking delight. Oh my goodness. It was just, it was really satisfying. And because her natural nails are all the same sort of length and really easy to shape, it was just really enjoyable to do. So in this set, Trudy needed her nails as short as I could make them, and we did have like a little agreement that I was doing these on the proviso that I could do them fairly long, but with her work that she does, she couldn't have them crazy talon like what Hannah had last week. So I zhut them off with the e-file. I'm now going through and like refining the length with the manual file, making sure that all of her nails match. And you've not seen it on camera, but I have checked from the palm as well that they look all the same from the palm side. So I'm going across and making sure they all match. Once I'm super happy that the nail length matches, then I'll go through and shape it. And you'll see me do that in a second. But just so you know what this whole process is they are not going to be square. This is me being pedantic about making sure that they are all exactly the same, because people are going to be way more likely to break their nails if they're mismatched and one is awkwardly slightly longer. It's like how if in a set of stairs, one step is like only a few millimeters out, people will trip on that step. Look it up. It's on Google. It's a thing. People will trip on that step. So that's why I'm so pedantic about the length, because the one that is different is so much more likely to be broken. So as we sit and file these into shape, I will ask you again if you could please pop into the comments and tell me, do you like the way that I record the audio live? Because I never used to. I used to use audio that I recorded as I was filming. Do you like it recorded live? Do you like this weird stream of consciousness thing? Don't you? Do you like that I'm doing it on a real person? Would you rather it was shorter? Just tell me what you like and I'll give it to you. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and finish shaping these nails and buff the shine off the surface, because that's going to be the next most important part, is having a smooth surface with no shine to then put my gel polish on top of. I didn't have a lot of filing to do here, so I took the whole shine off with a buffer and then just very gently took the lip off the tip around the cuticle area. And you'll see that I'm using a 150 grit correct file from Artistic. With our newbies, we would be encouraging that you use a 180, the aspect, a softer file. For me, because I'm fairly confident that my file is going to hit where I intend for it to hit. I'm not putting her skin at as high of a risk. I tend to go for the 150 because that means that I can get my work done just more efficiently. For me, that's a lower risk because I can get it done in fewer strokes and have less risk of each stroke being the stroke where I hit her skin, because I'm doing it with a grittier file. You don't have to do it that way. You can use a softer file, a 180 is perfect, or you can even pre-thin the tips by just using the file on the tip before you put it on the client. Lots of people do that. So now I'm going over the top with Devil Wears Nada, which I'm fairly obsessed with. This color got reformulated a while back. The original Devil Wears Nada was not as cool as it is now, but it's really, really fun now. It's very bright, and you can see with only one coat, we're getting pretty good coverage. I am going to go in and do a second coat, but like, look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. Not as pretty as Naughty Girl. Naughty Girl will always still be my favorite bright pink, but it is fun. And I'm putting black on the thumb because Trudy and I had a discussion over how I was going to do the pigment base for these videos. And ultimately, I decided the method you're going to see on 4 fingers, but I wanted to try it on the thumb. And since this is a YouTube video and we're working it all out together, Trudy and I decided we would sacrifice one nail to experimenting with the alternative option. You're about to see over the course of this video and next week's part 2 that I did a lot of learning as we go. That's one thing that I'm really enjoying. What I've been doing with these YouTube videos is getting students and graduates and friends to come and let me do whatever I want on them and take as much time as I want, and I'm not charging them for the art. So then I'm getting a lot of time to actually just get really way back into doing super fun stuff that I enjoy, because I moved from a city to a small town about 3.5, 4 years ago. And the people in this town are so much more into sports and fishing and diving and stuff like that, and lots of farmers as well. And so long nails is not as big of a deal here as it was when I was in the city. And I want to change that, not to force people to get long nails and stuff, but to show them what's possible, because I still get asked at least once a week if I know how to do French. So it's just that people haven't been as exposed to nail art here as they have been in the cities. So I am doing a essentially 3-color ombre with pigment over the top of Devil Wears Nada. You're not going to get a lot of Devil Wears Nada showing through, but I chose it because it was the closest color to the pink Be Creative pigment. I think it's called Wanderlust. But it was the closest, which means that I didn't have to go for full coverage, and you really do want as little pigment as possible. You'll see most of the time when I go to dip my brush into pigment that I'm dipping into the lid, not into the actual pot of powder. If I dip into the powder, if I put too much pigment on the nail, then I'm going to get chipping because the top coat is not going to be able to adhere to the gel underneath, and it needs to. Otherwise, it's just going to be a layer of gel floating on a layer of powder, which is kind of half stuck to a layer of gel. You're going to get the top coat chipping off. It's going to take the pigment with it, and you're just going to have Devil Wears Nada showing through. So that's why I chose Devil Wears Nada as the base color, because it would allow me to not have full coverage of pigment and still get a really pretty effect. The technique I'm going to use on this nail is essentially what you would use to do an aura nail with pigment instead of an airbrush. We have a few reels that show aura nails specifically being created with pigment, but it's the same kind of vibe. It's just that the pink's not standing out super well from Devil Wears Nada, kind of by design. So you're not getting the full effect of doing an aura nail, but as I come back in with the purple, then you'll see that this is essentially going to be the same thing, where you've got an eye of a certain color in the center, and then we're getting the second color going around the outside. And because of what we talked about before, about the chipping and stuff, I am being very careful to actually keep very little pigment on my brush and to keep it away from the very, very edge so that the top coat can seal around the edges and we won't have any issues. An absolute key to having your ombres or your auras or your pigment work in general looking really, really smooth is to always be going back in with the first colors that you used. So you'll see me do that on pretty much every nail, but here I am doing it with the pink, where I'm going in. I started with pink, then I put the purple around the edge. Now I go back with the pink, and by layering or even sandwiching the purple between 2 layers of pink, we're getting a really smooth effect. And this is where it becomes even more important to have as little pigment on your brush as possible, because you're wanting to get that 3 essentially layers of pigment to get a smooth blend, but you're not wanting it to be 3 thick layers of pigment. You're wanting it to come up to the point that it is just sort of still workable. You can still get gel soaking through the pigment to the layer underneath. With this nail, even though there's no ombre or blend on it, I still added pigment because I needed it to match, and otherwise it just would have been a Devil Wears Nada nail. So I focused my application in the center of the nail, and this is me just sort of like blending it out and getting coverage without actually applying it, so to speak, to the entire nail. Even now, while I'm working on the pointer, you can see on that middle finger it's so much more shiny than the ring finger, and that's because there's so much gel still showing through. So then on this nail that I'm working on now, it's essentially going to be what would be a 5-color ombre, because we've got pink in the middle and we're getting purple either side and black either side of that. So we are doing 5 stripes of color that all need to blend in with each other. This is tricky because it's such a small area to work on. So again, I keep going on about it, but the smallest amount of pigment, that's why I have to keep going back in to get more, because the smaller amount of pigment, the easier it is to blend. You're not getting big chunks of color. You're being able to actually blend it out. And even so, with 5 colors to blend, I'm going back in with the pink. Now, I haven't added black yet, but that is for a reason, because once I start putting black into my brush, I cannot go back and forth between colors without cleaning my brush. So I did the pink, I added purple either side. I'm going back in with the pink to get that smooth blend. And when I feel like the pink and purple is done, then I come back with the black. And I will get it in where I need it. I will do my best to do a smooth ombre with the black. If I have to, I will clean my brush and go back in with the purple to then blend it out. But if I use the tiniest amount of pigment on my brush and work really daintily, then I can often get away without having to go back if it's this kind of scenario. It's dinner time, and I should really be thinking about what to have for dinner, but that seems like a lot of effort right now. We just got back this afternoon from camping for a couple of days. I say camping. There was no tent involved. We were in a cabin, but it was at a campground. That counts. But so we've only been home a few hours, and honestly, I mean, I'm not going to cook anything, am I? That would be ludicrous. It's just not going to happen. So now on this nail is the second technique that we had talked about. In an effort to keep pigment away from the edges, knowing that the edges of a lot of these nails were going to be the darkest area, my alternate option was to start black and then add color. Now, if I'm adding color on top of black, it's not going to show up super bright. So that is why what I did was I came in and ombre'd white into the black first. I coated it with bonding gel, which is a 5-second cure base coat, because bonding gel stays really sticky after curing, and I needed stickiness for the pigment. So I then, with bonding gel cured, went in with the pink and then the purple. Now, I will still add some black around the edge to get a nice smooth blend, but I'm having a lot less pigment around the edges of this nail than I would have otherwise. And that was the motivation behind doing this, was to see whether or not, like when I was weighing up what to do, the idea behind this method would have been to have far less pigment at the edges of the nails and therefore almost no risk of chipping. The only thing is, I am glad that I did 4 nails the other way and only 1 this way, because ultimately I didn't like working on the tackiness of bonding gel. If it was my only option, there's plenty of times I've done it, but it wasn't my favorite way to do this, and I am really glad I did the other 4 nails the other way. And if you watched last week's videos, you will know that I did some pigment work and then I regretted not protecting it before I went in with my line work. The line work in the painted art that I'm doing on Trudy's nails today was way more intricate than what I did. Well, way more mess upable. So there was no way I was doing it without protecting the pigment, especially since they were such detailed blends. So I'm going in with correction gel, capping so thoroughly. You also saw me buff any pigment extras off the ends so I could cap even better. But I'm being really thorough and making sure that my correction gel goes over the edge of pigment in every direction, capped super, super well so that I can work over the top of it later and not make any mistakes. And so we come to a sneak peek of the finished product, which is way harder to do than it looks in this video because of a lot of blending done with gel polish. Hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out, and I'll be here next week showing you how it's done.